don't ever expect back what you give out, because our hearts are like very big, and that's how we look at things. So at this point in my life, I don't expect anything back. I guess part of that healing process was going through that disappointment process. Welcome to another episode of Kaizen Kast. I'm your host, TJ Del Vecchio, and today I have a guest. His name is Craig Gaeta, who I actually met through him coming to my house to fix my AC. And of course, the type of person I am, I talk to every single person. I love talking to people. I love having people around me. And Craig and I started talking, and he saw my sign, the Kaizen Kast sign, and then I explained to him what was going on in my life, and he was like, holy shit, I got a crazy story and kind of similar story. He's like, I said, well, I would love to have you on, because the more people that hear about our stories and see how we've become and how we're beating this addiction, anxiety addiction, alcohol addiction, drug addiction, the more people need to hear this and pass the word on, because I know there's a lot of people out there that are hurting. So let me introduce you. This is Craig. Craig, thank you for coming.
Absolutely.
I'm blessed to have you on, because there's so many people that do come that say, when I do meet them, they're like, yeah, I want to come on, and then they back out. But Craig has done nothing but been working hard over the last couple of weeks since we spoke, and we finally got a day to sit down and do this. So I'm super, super excited about it. So Craig, listen, please tell me, give me a little background on your life, your childhood, where you're from, all that stuff, and, what brought you to Florida. We'll start with that.
All right. Well, originally born and raised in New York, Rockland County, so outside the city, on the north side of the Tappan Zee Bridge. Grew up, parents both, together. Dad working, mom staying home. Had a great upbringing, a lot of vacations, a lot of, just family time, close with the grandparents. It got older and moved into a different house a couple towns over, switched schools, met some people. This was like first grade. Came up in middle school, struggled in middle school, dealing with bullying and whatever else. And and then got into high school, had lost connection with a couple friends that kind of really hurt me in a way, because they kind of went the football route and I kind of didn't do that and stayed back, and then started smoking weed and all that, and then things kind of progressed, but family still stayed together. Like, there was no turmoil really there. It was all kind of my decisions that kind of pushed me in the path that...
Question for you, not to interrupt you, because I say this all the time, that, even with myself, we never really get to the root cause of the problem of why we go down these paths. And it really goes back to your childhood, and like that instantly when I heard bullying, like the stuff that happened with you when you were that young, were you able, obviously, like, you didn't probably talk about it much, or like, how did that go?
It wasn't so much like the bullying that really did it. Like, everybody gets picked on and stuff. Like, get into like fights and whatever, all that stuff, the young stuff. It was really more like my friend moving on from like me, not me. He was like my brother, my parents were his second parents, staying over every weekend, middle of the week, we'd hang out every day, go to school together, all that. And he moved on, and he was like, well, the football team's my family, and you're doing shit that I don't like. And, turns out now he smokes a lot of weed.
I think most athletes at some point, including myself, because I didn't drink in high school, I didn't smoke weed, and then I got to Wall Street, and then it was like the doors were blown open for me to see all this shit. So yeah, it's funny how the thing comes back full circle.
Yeah, and I don't blame him for that, for doing that, whatever, but that was tough. And like later on in life, when I started getting into the heavier stuff, and I'd break down randomly, it's just like, because I miss my old friend. I miss him, and I still think about it today. And we're great friends now. He lives in Tennessee. He does a great, he's got a dumpster business. He's doing great, and I keep in touch with him. But that was something that killed me, ate at me, still eats at me, because it's like decisions that maybe I made I could have done differently.
Right.
And there's another friend too. It's like the same thing when he saw a lot of the bad stuff that was going on when I got into the heavier stuff, and at one point he was just like, I'm tired, like I'm done, and I can't get him on the phone. It's been 4 or 5 years since I've talked to him, and like that kills me too, because it's like, what could I have done differently to maybe not have had him be fed up with me? And you're like, I'm a different person now, but I love and respect him, so what am I going to do? I'm going to pressure him into talking to me? No, I can't. He's got his own life. He does his own thing. So I respect that, and it's just part of, I guess, the healing process, like rooting for him at a distance.
Yeah, absolutely. It's I just said this in my last podcast that, you know, your friend circle, friends come and go, I hate to say it, and a lot of them end up being acquaintances, and guys that have big hearts, obviously like you and like myself, you sometimes think, man, could I have done more or what? But at the end of the day, it's a two-way street. So, you know, that's part of life too. And, you know, you chose a path, he chose a path, and he's got to live with his decision like you're living with yours. But I understand that hurt part, because I get that now at 52. You know, I left all my friends up north and came to Florida and here full time, and I love it. I love the people here. I feel like I'm with like-minded people like yourself. But I also know that I thought I had a ton of friends up there that cared about me like I cared about them. Like when I say you're my friend, you're really my friend. Like, right. It's not like, oh, it's just like, hey,
not
pal.
Acquaintances. Yeah. We're not drinking buddies, because like we don't really do that anymore. No. You know, it's bigger. It's bigger than that.
You pick up the phone, or this is what I said last week. I said a text takes 2 seconds. Right. So like, I haven't made money in 3 years. Hey, just checking in on you. How you doing? How you like? That takes 2 seconds. You know, that would go like a million miles.
It would go a long way for me. I have friends who do it, but it's like when it does happen, it's like it feels so good, because
it feels great.
I like checking in on my friends when I can. You know, how you doing? I know you're going through X, Y, and Z, and
right.
So when I get that back, sometimes I'm selfish. So it's like, well, when is it my fucking turn?
I hear you.
To get a text message back.
Yeah, and I hear you. And the funny thing is that I said that in the last episode too. Don't ever expect back what you give out, because our hearts are like very big, and that's how we look at things. So at this point in my life, I don't expect anything back. Part of that healing process was going through that disappointment process, and or disappointment process, and that's where it's at right now. But I totally get where you're coming from, so you said got into deeper stuff. See, I mean, we talk about everything on this show. So like, because I've done it all. You want to talk about coke? You want to talk about amphetamines? You want to talk about MDMA? You want to talk like whatever it is, man? I've seen it all.
Yeah.
I've seen it and done most of it.
Yeah.
Sadly to say,
yeah.
But I'm here, so that's the most important thing. And
the interesting part that I think about it all, it's like people who don't take that path. It's not that they're like at a, I don't know what the word, disservice or whatever, but they just don't get that part of life. Like, because you go down that path, you come back, you have experiences to pull on that some people who don't go down that path can't pull on, and like can't relate and try and look at situations differently in a way, you know, like, because I attack things and approach things differently, because I think back like, oh, I went through this, you know, when I was really going through it.
right.
Maybe, you know, I'm not considering what that person's feeling as much, you know, because everybody's going through something. So not everybody has those bad experiences and good experiences. You know, there's good times back in those days.
Absolutely.
To pull off of. Like when I was going in through drug court and everything in New York, yeah, I fell behind because I didn't graduate college, but I got experience that none of the people my age have, going to jail and dealing with the courts, going to therapy, forced therapy, which ended up being great. But like at the beginning, I was like, this sucks, going to outpatient rehab, pissing in a cup people breathing down your neck all the time. It's something to like consider.
It's real life shit.
It is.
It's
It
real
is.
life shit. That's like that's not college. That's a different college. That's
Yeah.
when you get a. So if you could let everybody know how that all happened, you got arrested for cocaine or whatever it was.
Yeah, I had a friend wear a wire.
Yeah, tell it if you don't.
Yeah, I just was. Well, I got into cocaine. I was.
How old were you?
See, maybe sophomore year of high school, I think. We just got a bag on like New Year's Eve or something. It was me and my buddy. I was like, let's, we got the guy. We knew all the guys with the good shit, so I didn't feel funny trying to grab some. So I said, yeah, let's try it. Went to my buddy's house, and I was like, okay, this is good. I didn't really know like what I was doing with it. How much to take or whatever. So I was just, barely touching it throughout the night. Then I think like a year and a half went by, and I was with my buddy. We were working together for this guy doing construction, and he said our boss gave us like the week off for 4th of July, the whole week. So I was like, dude, we haven't gotten a bag in like a year and a half. Like, you want to just fuck around? He's like, yeah. Didn't stop from that day.
Just kept going.
Spent about 2 G's or whatever in the week between me and him, and then I was like, dude, we could just sell this, because all of our friends were like, this is good stuff. So I was like, I'll get an ounce. My buddy got an ounce, and then the rest is history. Then Xanax got involved, and going to school and selling it at school and taking Xanax in school and selling. It was a nightmare, but
It's a vicious cycle.
it is.
It's like it's how my Wall Street days were. My lunches would run into my dinners, and which would lead into the clubs, and then lead into the next day of me waking up being like, holy fuck, like, all right, I got to repeat the cycle again, and then it's nonstop. Yeah, yeah.
And then all of that led up to troopers knocking on my door with detectives, and I was playing golf. My buddy called me. He's like, yeah, like troopers and detectives are looking for you. I was like, well, tell them to leave a card. Like, I was so oblivious to like what I was doing, like how much I was actually moving, and like how hot it actually was on that specific street, because the dude across the street was selling heroin. So like, I was blind, wasn't paying attention.
Wait, so how old were you there?
That was 2017 when that happened. So I was 20.
Yeah.
20 when it all started, when I got the indictment for 4 felonies, 2 possession, 2 sales.
How much were you moving?
I was nickel and diamond like at the frat houses, but I would move weight to some people. I'd have like a couple runners and shit that would just go.
So you had a full-fledged business.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. At some points, yeah. I mean, obviously, and like also taking the road trips for 8 hours round trip on a Thursday after class, so I can get ready for the weekend every week, and I'd bring a girl with me, so it wasn't like suspicious, and I would be on a bunch of Xanax, nodding out in the passenger seat. She'd be driving now, and I'd drive back, and it was intense shit. Like thinking about it now, it was intense shit,
It's almost like you were in a movie.
Yeah. I was talking to my buddy who was like, you can make a movie out of that, but
I mean, shit.
Yeah.
I feel like there's a few times we're running around Vegas or whatever, or wherever we were, and there was many a times I would turn to one of my buddies and be like, we could make a serious fucking movie out of like what's going on here. Yeah, a shitload of. I mean, we'd have to change everybody's name and everybody, but like we could make. It's very interesting.
And like it wasn't just that. Like you get a lot of beef with people too, like a legit war. Going to war with people, like kicking in your doors, you kicking in people's doors, because like it just gets nasty, and people don't realize how like nasty it gets. And I didn't even realize, because I was so clouded. I was like, this is the game. The game's the game. It's like, get out of the game, but you can't. And then the trooper, so back to I was golfing, I told him to leave a card. 2 days,
Leave a
yeah.
card. I love it. You were so like out in left field. You were like, this is.
They left the card though.
They did?
And then 2 days later, I wake up. Young trooper comes to. He knocks on the door. I wake up. I go downstairs. He's like, "Hey, are you Craig?" I'm like, "Yeah." He's like, "Can you come to the station and answer some questions?" I was like, "No, like absolutely not." And I stepped out of my house. I shut the door. I was in my underwear and the blue polo shirt. I remember, like,
Yesterday, yeah.
and I was like, "No," And he was like, "Come on, man, like, just come to the station." I was like, "Why? Like, you can ask me the questions right here." He's like, "Dude, I don't know what this is about. Like, the detectives don't want to come back." I was like, "Well, let them do their job and come back and ask me the questions." And he's like, "Dude, you gotta come." And I was like, "Am I being detained?" He's like, "You're under arrest, bro. You have a warrant." And I was like, "You could have started with that."
Right, right.
So he was like, I was like, "I just go upstairs and put pants on." And he was like, "Yeah." So he came up, he followed me up, put pants on, put me in the car, drove me down to the station, and lady just threw the indictment or the warrant in front of my face and was like, "What's this?" And I was like, "I don't know. Like, I don't, that doesn't mean anything to me." She's like, "Oh, you can't read? I thought you were in college." And I was like, "Yeah, I have a final I have to go take. Is this going to take all day?" She's like, "You're going in front of the judge." So I went in front of the judge, and it all happened so fast. I didn't have a lawyer up there.
You have a lawyer.
So I got a public defender, and he leans over. He's like, "Dude, this is the worst fucking lawyer to have, or worst judge to have." And I was like,
Thanks, buddy.
"Yeah."
Thanks.
So the judge is asking me all these questions, like, "What are you doing? You're in college, this and that." He's like, "Fucking, cocaine, all this shit." And I'm like, "Yeah,
Well, how did they know that you were actually selling?
my friend had it on a wire, like controlled by 2 days."
So he got pinched and he was selling everybody down the river.
Yeah, I mean, so it's one of a few different people that I didn't get my discovery because I did the drug court because it was my first time offense for like a serious deal. Right. So like it was like you can either go to trial and fight it, and if the kid who did the controlled buys, if he gets on the stand, like you're done, like you're going. So I didn't really want to roll those dice. I'm not snitching, so like the only other option was to take drug court, and it was like if you fail drug court, you're maxed out. Like you go to prison for maximum of all your 4 charges, which was like 36 years. Oh. So I was like, this is. But even at that time, I was like, I could get out of this. Like this is nothing. And then reality set in when I was like, sat down one day at my house, and I was like, I'm so. Like,
yeah. You still thought, was it because, let me ask you this, because I know I've been in situations and I've had either alcohol or amphetamines in me, and you, like, your mind is clouded where you think you can always escape out of the night, like you're always jumping through.
Here's the kicker.
Were you still like in that?
Well, here's the thing, right? There was May 4th or something, I got arrested. And I had been clean for like a week because I was going to come down here after my last final and go into the Coast Guard or some branch in the military. I think it was going to be Coast Guard because like I could stay with my parents. I hadn't been with them. Like, so I was sober for about a week, and then I get hit with this. And then right when I got the indictment, I was like, I got a bunch of Xanax and I just ate a bunch of Xanax and was like out for the next 3 or 4 days, just like barred out, And then I called my parents and I was like, I got a prop. Yeah, the yellow ones. Yeah, like 4 of them. Yeah. And yeah, it started that whole process, and I had to move out of the house I was living in or they were going to violate me on probation. But the judge, back to the judge, he was like, asked me all these questions, and he was like, do you have any family in New York? I was like, they just moved to Florida in March. We sold the house, and I'm taking my last final today, and I was going to pack up and leave this week. You can't leave the state of New York. He's like, you're lucky you're not going to jail till your trial. And I was like, and my lawyer was like, dude, take it. Like, take it. And I did, and then got hooked up with the drug court stuff and probation, and whatever else, outpatient, AA and NA once a day, getting the slip signed, like everything, dude. It was tough. I had like 87 days, and then like I missed I missed it or something, or I violated and went to jail, and I had to start over. So you have to do 90 and 90, so 90 meetings in 90 days, but one a day. You can't double up. So judge put me in. I was like, are there programs in jail that I can do and like still get no. So then they kicked me back to the beginning. I couldn't get out of my own way for the first year. There's 4 phases.
So you're at day 87. You had 3 more days to go, and you missed. Just
I don't know if I either missed or I violated because I couldn't get out of my own way. I was drinking or something, something stupid, you know. And it took me a year to get out of phase 1, which should be 8 weeks long. And they almost kicked me off the program because I could not complete like anything. I was a wreck. And, you know, that wasn't the last time that I had a couple mishaps and whatever. I mainly went to jail, though, because, like, I couldn't provide a urine sample or something, and they take that as a dirty. So it's like you go to jail for 2 weeks just to, like, sit and think about it. It's like, you guys aren't helping me at this point.
Yeah.
You know, like...
So they send you to county?
Yeah.
And you just sit in the cell?
You're locked in for 3 days. You get your TB shot, whatever, to see if you got TB. If you pass, then you can go in Gen Pop and ride it out there. I usually just stayed in my cell and read books. Just going by people like.
No one fucked with you.
No, so that county jail was a bunch of like meth heads and stuff from the town, the college towns. But there was a couple dudes from downstate New York who were moving like a bunch of coke and slinging crack and shit up there. And so I kind of gravitated towards them because like
you were in that world.
I wasn't a meth head.
Yeah.
And I don't like the tweakers. Like they're crazy.
They're nuts.
So a couple, you know, it's not prison, so it's not like you got to stick with your race. So like, you know, It was cool. We were just playing spades and chess and whatever, and watching TV and football.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, it's wild.
That's
And then like to think about all of that, and then thinking like still. Oh, I think I can get out of this. But in the background, I got 36 years of prison hanging over my head that I could go at any point. If they decide, like, you're done, like, I'm getting taken that day
and it's over.
And getting transported